Purpose Hangtime podcast. It is your host, Leon McFarlane, and my co-host,
Ricky Pang.
And today, I'm very excited about this episode. We are continuing the interview series for the Purpose Hangtime podcast, but to the keen-eyed listeners and watchers, you may notice that there's something a bit different. We have some feminine energy on the show. We have an external interview guest who is the lovely Gabrielle, my partner. So, in terms of this interview and in terms of this episode, you've heard my story regarding divorce. And that main focus is now to take the spin of me and hear the other side of the story. So with Gabrielle being my partner and being my partner during the main legalities when it came to divorce, what is her side? What was her mindset? I may have gone through challenges, but she had also gone through challenges as well during that difficult time. But now, here we are, 2.5 years later, celebrating and being able to actually talk about this in an open manner. I know there's many people who have been looking forward to listening to her side of this story. And I think she has very key nuggets of nourishing information that will be delved into today. So we're going to see what lessons she has learned. We're going to see how she has felt throughout the whole narrative. So, Gabrielle, may you introduce yourself, please? And thank you very much for being our first external guest to the Purpose Hangtime.
Thank you very much for having me. Hi, everyone. To introduce myself, so yes, I am the very, very, very lucky woman able to call herself the partner of Leon McFarlane. And excited for today. Slightly nervous because it's a personal topic. It doesn't get much more personal than this. But yeah, hopefully I've got some interesting sides to the stories that you shared in the last episode.
Lovely stuff. And for today, what we're going to switch up the format. I'm not actually going to be talking that much today because I have to learn the lessons. I have to hear some new stuff today and listen to what Gabrielle has to say in terms of all of that regarding this whole narrative. And Ricky will be the main interviewer for today. I know his eyes is widened up for a split second, but it's going to be nice. We're going to look forward to shooting the breeze in this special episode. So, may we start? The floor is handed over to you, Ritz.
Thank you. And once again, Gabs, I feel really honored to have you as the very first, but definitely not the last guest on the Purpose Hangtime podcast. Now, in our previous episode, we obviously heard from Leon's side and how you guys met. Him harping about the leather jacket and him trying to do his best Tom Cruise impression. But but me and the listeners really want to kind of hear your side of the story in, how you guys met on that night and, how it from there on just slowly developed and evolved.
Sure. Okay. So the story. I was out with one of my best friends. I'll call her M. And it was the tail end of one of the many lockdowns that we had in the UK. We were ready to be outside. We were ready to go out and met for, a hangout, a chat in town, putting the world to rights over a couple of bottles of Prosecco. And I would say both of us had some real challenges during lockdown. We leaned on each other and supported each other. But I think being single in lockdown was a period of great reflection. We'd had many deep conversations. And so, we were ready to go out. And we were having such a good time at the place that we were. The manager of that bar and restaurant said, if you guys are looking for a bit of a dance for the night, there's a B at 1 around the corner. And we were umming and ahhing. Is it that kind of night? We were in jeans. We just met up to have some food and a drink. We weren't necessarily planning on being out, as they say. But anyway, we decided to go for it. So we went to be at 1 and had the best night. There was a real atmosphere in that bar of celebration that, we've made it through lockdown. Everybody was out to have a great time. We went downstairs, we danced. And my friend Em and I, we both have the same leather jacket from All Saints.
Nice.
And yeah, very nice. And she kept a hold of hers the whole night, dancing with it under her arm. I like to be free when I'm dancing, so I put mine down on the kind of banqueting chair where we were, stayed next to it, obviously, because it's a precious jacket to me, and danced the night away, went up and down the cocktail menu. And before we knew it, it was 3 a.m. This was one of those unintentional nights out, which I always think make for the best nights out. And the lights came on, and I looked around for my jacket, and it was nowhere to be found.
Right. Okay.
And so, yeah. And so my friend Em, obviously we're in central London, we're very familiar with central London, said, oh no, oh babe, it looks like it's been stolen. And I cannot explain this any other way other than a deep inner knowing. I was convinced that it wasn't stolen because on the seat in front of us where we'd been dancing and hanging out for the night, there was another jacket, and the shoulder piece of the jacket looked similar to mine. And so I don't ask me how I knew. Obviously, many drinks were consumed, but I said, I don't think it's been stolen. I think someone's taken it by mistake and left theirs because the shoulder bit does look the same. So
would you say your leather jacket looked better or that leather jacket looked better?
I mean, I like my jacket. And again, it sounds so illogical, but my first thought wasn't to hand this jacket in and leave my details with the staff and all of the logical, sober thoughts that you might have. I said to my friend, it's not been stolen. I know it's not been stolen. It's been taken by mistake. So I'll take this jacket home and figure it out. And my friend sort of went, yeah, okay. We left the bar, got Ubers home. The next day, there was a hangover involved. And by that Sunday evening, as I was getting ready for bed and obviously, work the next day, sort of looked at where I hang the coats now in our flat and thought, that's not my jacket. Where'd that come from? And then I remembered. So I was like, okay, I need to kind of figure this out. So I went through the pockets of the jacket and found a metal card wallet that had a driver's license, a bank card, and a Nando's card. And I think €5, Nando's card, standard, and a Euros note. And obviously had, the driver's license, which gives you a lot of information.
Yeah.
So used the name on that driver's license, Leon McFarlane, to try and track this person down. There are 3 Leon McFarlanes in London that I could find. And I messaged all 3 and, just coordinated with Leon to meet up the next day and swap the jackets back over.
Did all 3 of them respond to you or?
No, only Leon.
Okay, only the real one.
Yeah.
Okay,
only the real Leon.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The others didn't respond, and I still have. And I had to. I found him on Facebook, so it was on Facebook Messenger, which was, I think, me popping up saying something like, "Hi, any chance you were in Be At One last night?" And Leon was, a bit cautious and wary because obviously I was a stranger, but saying, "Yeah, I was. Why do you ask?" And I said, "Oh, I've got your jacket." And in the message said, I've got your card wallet, so don't worry about your bank card or anything. It's been with me. But I hope that this means that you have mine. So that deep inner knowing was correct. There is something magical or mystical about that. I was just convinced that it hadn't been stolen. So anyway, we coordinated to meet up the next day, the Monday, at Clapham Junction. And swap the jackets back over. And that's how we met.
Yeah. I still remember vividly when I was talking to him about that. Yeah, so, I misplaced my jacket. I was at B at 1, but I'm meeting with this girl who's found my jacket. Tomorrow we're meeting at a cozy. Was it a cafe or a bar or?
No,
Initially, my plan was for it to be a coffee, knowing
Coffee?
full well you can't really have coffee at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. in Croydon. So
Exactly.
there was already some parts of there was some instigation points in there.
but
Exactly.
that was after we had already swapped the jackets, because we swapped the
Mhm.
jackets outside Sainsbury's in on the way into Clapham
Right.
Junction station.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
this is where, my side comes in. So we swapped the jackets back. Leon was so apologetic, because he had left the bar first and taken mine, obviously, but so grateful that it had been looked after. And I was grateful to get my jacket back. He was really nice, and said, "Can I give you like some money to say thank you?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. It's
Yeah.
just, let's just swap them back." And I'm glad this has ended well. He gave me a hug, which was very nice. And then that was it. And then, he went home and I went home. And my friend M, that I had been with,
Yeah.
and another close friend, also, let's call her A, were the two people that I had told about this random situation. And on my way home, they wanted to know, what was he like? What was he like? And I said, he was really, really
Yeah.
nice, friendly guy. But, that's it. We swapped the jackets back and that's it. And I didn't think anything more
Mm.
of it, honestly, than that. And both friends said, yeah, but Gabs, this is, like one of those
Disney
situations in a
movies.
movie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Romantic movies. Happy ending.
exactly like a sliding doors kind of thing. And I actually said to both of them, that kind of thing doesn't happen to real people, to people like me. Like, I'm a South Londoner. That kind of thing just doesn't happen. Yeah, nice fantasy, and we poking
Yeah.
fun at them for it. So I'm really eating my words 2.5 years later. So yeah, so that was how we met. I didn't think anything of it. Archived the chat and thought, great, he's got his jacket, I've got mine. And it was following that Leon
Okay.
said, yeah, I really want to do something to say thank you. Please, can I take you for a coffee?
All right. So you archived the chat. So it was Liam that kind of took the initiative and, sent you the next message saying, hey, I really want to meet up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And this is the funny thing. When I was speaking to Leon, it was like, yeah, so, misplaced coat of the girl, da da da. We've got our coats back. So maybe for, go to a bar or something. And I remember specifically, I said to him, dude, it sounds like you're going on a date. And he was so adamant. He was like, no, it's not a date. It's not a date. It's just a friendly thing.
It wasn't.
I'm pretty sure if you poll around 98% of our friends, they would agree it was a date. But okay, so you go to this, go to have a couple of drinks and stuff. And, did you just feel like right away that the conversation you had with Leon, it was like you just hit off right away, like you had similar interests, like kind of a similar mindset, mentality wise? I mean, just tell me a bit more about kind of from that, we call it the first date, how you felt, what were you thinking and about him in that way?
Sure. So the weird thing is, I didn't consider it a date either.
Right.
It wasn't a date because the intention was, this is a thank you.
Yeah.
But it was a weird situation because you're going to meet a man that you don't know. And it ended up there aren't coffee shops open at 7 p.m. Where we live. So it ended up being in a very nice pub. And I remember speaking to a friend, and I was like, I'm not really sure what the situation is, but I'll also say this because I think it links to questions you're going to ask me in a minute. The reason I archived the chat is because I had to find Leon on Facebook to track him down to do the jacket swap.
Yeah.
And on Facebook, Leon's relationship status was in a relationship still. So that was why I was like, I don't think anything more of this, and archived it, job done.
Yeah.
And so him then saying, please, let me take you for a thank you. I could see that he was a very genuine, nice guy. It didn't feel untoward, let's say. But my hesitancy was in, well, Facebook status says you're in a relationship. So I accepted. It was about a week later, I think we went for the drink, sat down. That initial awkwardness, because we were strangers, we don't know each other, but ended up chatting away. We were reading the same book at the same time. We just had so many things in common. But about 20 minutes in, I was like, okay, so let's just get this elephant out of the room. It says that you're in a relationship on Facebook. I've looked at your Facebook. I don't see any evidence of a person, a significant other. So what's the story there? Because I felt uncomfortable about it. I would never instigate something or take part in something with someone who is taken. So I wanted to make sure that it was very upfront. I wasn't, stepping on someone else's patch. And and so just asked Leon straight out, I think within about 15, 20 minutes of meeting him, like, just, okay, what's going on? What's the story? And Leon, I remember, was a little bit taken aback by that.
Definitely.
But actually, we joked about it later. He respected my directness because I wasn't gonna get involved in something, untoward. So actually, the conversation around divorce happened very early on, literally the second time that we met. Leon shared, and I remember being quite impressed with his transparency and honestly vulnerability around it. It was very upfront and very early on that I knew what his situation was. And so we kind of got that out of the way and had a chat about that. And then, had a couple of drinks. And I just remember, I think it was about 4.5 hours of just sitting, talking.
Wow.
Flew by. All the cliches are true. It went by like that. And before we knew it, it was, oh my God, it's, gone 11 o'clock. I better, walk you back to the station, and went our separate ways. And I felt like I had made a best friend. I wouldn't say it was initially, oh my God, fell in love that day. No.
Right.
I felt I had made a best friend.
Okay.
Very, very quickly.
No, because it was just the way you kind of described that first initial meeting, and subconsciously, deep down, what kind of prompted you to ask that question about divorce? I mean, did you feel there was an inkling of some chemistry or some sparks that kind of prompted you to ask that question about, what's your relationship status? Or was it just more from an inquisitive kind of point of view? Look, I'm just very curious to find out a bit more about just you as a person without any underlying, feelings or emotions in it.
Yeah, it was more just respect. So it's a good question, Rix, but it was just out of respect. Was, if there is, if you are in a relationship and there is someone, I want to make sure that there's a real boundary here, and that this is a thank you drink because I didn't commit identity fraud with all of your personal details that I had access to. And, you didn't have to get your card replaced because I looked after your property, basically. That if there is a significant other, let's very much be, respectful to that. It was purely from that place. It wasn't due to, any kind of feelings, because I didn't know him. Yeah.
No, that's fine. So, okay. So fast forward, after that meeting, you feel like you made a best friend, and you guys started to hang out more. At what point where you were hanging out as friends, did you kind of begin to develop those feelings for him? Now, what was it, a specific moment, or was it kind of like a accumulation of, the time spent together, and it just started to kind of build and build?
I have a specific moment in mind where I saw him, I think, in a different light. So, we met up a couple of times as friends, and just always always had a good time, talking the whole time. That real, I think that chemistry when you really click with somebody, we had that from the get-go, obviously for 4 hours, the first time we met. There was no flirting. So I didn't know that Leon found me attractive.
I kept all those cards very close. Very close.
Very close to his chest.
Never show your full hand.
Yeah. So there was no flirting. But we were speaking a lot, we were messaging a lot, and we'd met up a couple of times as friends. So the specific moment where I thought, oh, actually, I think I am sort of feeling a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
We met up as friends and went axe throwing in Box Park. Yeah, love axe throwing. And then got some food. And then in the Box Park where we live, underneath in one of the bars, it kind of turns into a bit of a club night, which is really fun. It was sort of 10, you've been there, 10-ish, 10:30 at night, and we were sort of like, oh, we're not ready to call it a night yet, so why don't we go and have a little dance, and you just walk in, and it's really casual and fun. So we were in there, and when we were in there, we ran into my parents live around the corner from me, and their next door neighbours have a daughter that's the same age as us. So I've known her since we were about 11 or 12. We've known each other for a long time. So ran into her there, which was, always lovely to see her. We've always got along. And obviously we were there dancing for the night, had a couple of drinks. And by the end of the night, that night wraps up about 1 a.m. My parents' next door neighbour's daughter, E, was quite intoxicated. And as we were coming out of that club night, I sort of realised she needs a bit of help getting home, actually. She had, we've all been there. And so I said to Leon, let me know, when your train is, and say goodbye. But I said, I'm going to walk her home because she needs a little bit of help getting home. And Leon said, oh, that's fine. I'll help you. I don't want you to be on your own, walking home and helping her. I'll get a train later. So because of the level of E's intoxication, what should have been a 20-minute walk home took about 45 minutes and was difficult. It was difficult because she was not in a good state and quite emotional and all these kind of things. And anyway, as the two of us were supporting and corralling E to get home and literally walked her to the door and let herself in and all of that, I remember thinking as we walked to mine, because then we had to work out what train Leon was going to get from there, it was really in that moment that I remember thinking, wow, Leon and I have only known each other by this point a couple of weeks, and he's like a best friend. Leon has never met this girl before, and yet he cares about getting her home safely. He cares enough about me to help me and doesn't want me to be in the street on my own at night. He's never met this girl before tonight, and he cares about getting her home safely. And we've worked together as a team to do this. It was that moment that I thought, wow, there's something very special about this guy's character that I hadn't come across before, honestly. That he goes out on a limb for people he doesn't even know. Like, he barely knows me. We hadn't known each other for a long period of time. And it was that moment that it kind of pinged into my head. This guy would make a really good partner. That's the kind of partner that I want. That's the kind of person I want to be with, is someone like that. So that for me was the moment that I looked at him beyond a friend and more like, oh, that's what it would be like to be with him. That he's that kind of person. So for me, it was character. It was really character.
what I
So
loved about that moment, sorry,
yeah.
Rex, just jumping in.
Mm,
What I loved about that moment is even after all of that, we still sat down in your flat,
mm.
married men over there, that side of the sofa. I remember
Yeah.
that. And
Oh,
we still
nice.
just continued, and we
Yeah,
still
that
just,
that was the first time
mm,
he came round was to wait for
yeah,
his train, and I
Yeah,
said, "No,
mhm,
you've got to sit at the other end of the
yeah,
sofa."
yeah. And we still just continued on the conversation as if,
Yeah.
it didn't matter about how tired either of us was or making sure that your friend got back. But we
Mm,
just continued chatting as really, really good friends. And I just felt the warmth from you as well. And just
mm.
the very, very loving nature. And I was thinking, I do like this lady. I definitely do. And it's just so easy. So yeah, but let's continue.
Wow.
no, that's sweet. But next question: who was the first to confess their feelings to each other? Who took the initiative in that?
Confess feelings. I don't I don't think there was a confession of feelings
No,
that
I
I can
think
recall.
we probably both at the same time, we
Mm,
had a discussion the second time we met up whilst we were walking through the park. We were talking about both of our exes. We were walking through the
yeah.
park,
It wasn't the
and
second
I
time we
think
met up.
no,
We'd
no,
met up.
second time I came around here,
Yeah, came
and
round.
yeah, we
Mm,
just we we kind of decided there and then, you
Hmm.
know what? We both got very very
mm,
similar attributes.
mm.
We've gone through. We've talked about the trauma we've had with both
With
of our
exes.
respective ex other halves,
Mm,
and what is so refreshing and different with both of us at this current time. So I think, Rix, to answer that question, it was mutual in terms of when we both unveiled certain bits and pieces. But obviously, with me, with all the let's say the brick wall, the steel door to the vault, the laser guarded fence,
Yeah,
it was harder for me to open up regarding those feelings. So literally, Gabs would just get a small little hiss of steam. This is how I kind of feel. And I think
yeah,
that leads us perfectly on to the next set of questions.
yeah. I mean, Gabs, you touched upon it earlier. Knowing that he was technically a married man, even though he had kind of emotionally and mentally separated himself from his wife at the current time. Um, what were kind of your thoughts and feelings and emotions in, I have feelings for this guy, but I know he's married, but just going from a friendship into a dating phase.
yeah. It's a big question. Of course, some to start date or not even dating. We were just in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Basically, we went from
Mhm.
best friends to then best friends and in a
Yeah,
relationship. Um, it's not ideal. Let's be honest. It's not
Mm.
ideal. I wouldn't have written that for myself. I wouldn't have ticked those boxes if we'd met online. Yes, it'd be great to meet someone who's not technically divorced yet. It's complex. It was it was very complex. I think what helped is that being best friends for weeks before things turned into more is that we had had many deep conversations
Mm.
around both, like as Leon said, both of our former relationships. So there was a lot of honesty and openness and transparency about what had happened. The meetup that Leon was just describing, we went for a walk in the park for a couple of hours, both sharing the story, the journey of our exes. And I think what we were discovering was how similar we are, Leon and I, as people, and actually how similar our exes were. There were a lot of similarities. And so, although I wasn't married before, the journey was similar. And so we really got each other on that level. It is a very it's a very particular kind of relationship and therefore breakup when you are the person putting in the effort, the time, the investment, the work to try and make a relationship work.
Yeah.
And compromising yourself along the way to try and not give up on this person and try and make the relationship work and show this person loyalty and respect the commitment you've made to another person and getting very little back. That is a very particular kind of hurt, I think. And it damages you in a very different way as opposed to things just fizzling out or there's infidelity. So it's kind of a very easy, quick decision. There's a very particular kind of destruction that we could both relate to. So the reason I say all of that is then, yes, Leon was married when we met and the divorce came through within a few months of being together.
Yeah.
But things were so done. You mentioned emotionally, physically, obviously done.
Yes.
That it wasn't a concern, as in, you know, there might still be feelings there or anything like that. That wasn't a concern. We talked that through, you know, to death. I think the complexity was in the impact the relationship and the divorce had on Leon and the people around him. That was where it got complicated, and remained complicated for a while. It was more about that. Of course, it's not ideal to meet someone going through that, but at the end of the day, you can't control when you meet the love of your life. You know, we're not in control of that, and we're not kids anymore. We're adults. We're heading. Some of us are hurtling towards mid-30s. People have baggage. People have been in relationships. You know, there's stuff that comes along the way when you've been in the dating world and experiencing relationships. So this was Leon's particular form of baggage, and I had my particular form of baggage. And I think we were lucky that actually there were some similarities that helped us to understand each other better, understand each other's triggers and things like that. But yeah, those impacts, I would say, were quite wide ranging, and I had to I was along for the ride of that healing that needed to happen, and I think that's where the complexity came in.
Yeah. I mean, Gabs, you mentioned, you know, the impact was being felt externally on his side. But what about kind of your side when you were talking about this to your family or friends? What are kind of their initial thoughts, you know, on dating a married man?
I was very transparent about, you know, that Leon is going through a divorce, but we're now together. Honestly, from my friends or family, I did not receive one raised eyebrow or question. Everybody was so happy that I was so happy, which was lovely. I've never ever received or had anybody kind of say, oh, you know, be careful or anything like that. I think, well, the way that I interpret that is my friends and family trust my judgment. And I had made a judgment and it was the right one. And I was very confident in that decision. I was confident in this is the right person for me and this is the right thing for us, complexities aside. So yeah, I never received any, anything like that. And I think also what probably goes into that is I have a number of friends, and both my mum and my stepdad, who I refer to as my parents, who are on their second marriage. And the second marriage, like my mum, my stepdad, it's the second time around for both of them. They've been together over 30 years. And I have a couple of friends that is their second marriage, and they're the happiest they've ever been, you know, and life goes on. And so I think there was a maturity around, sometimes you get married and it doesn't work out. And then if you meet the right one after that, good for you. So that was the response from my friends and family.
Absolutely. But going over to Leon's side in terms of these families and friends, did you have any sense of doubts, reservations, or nervousness? Just walk me through what were you kind of thinking and feeling, and meeting his friends and family.
Yeah, complex. I think that's the word of the podcast. So I would say that there were sort of three camps. So Leon, I respect Leon immensely and trust his judgment and his considered in meeting, the people that are important to us. So Leon has this incredible, shout out to the Andersons, incredible, welcoming, large, extended family. And so I met a big group. I met his immediate family sooner than that.
Yeah.
But then meeting the wider family, one of Leon's cousins throws these incredible gatherings, inviting everybody over roughly twice a year. And I was taken to one of those to meet at a lot of the extended, not everybody, but a lot of the extended family in one fell swoop. And the thing that of course I was nervous. Of course, you're meeting, your boyfriend's family. But the thing that Leon did that I think, again, reinforced his character and showed me respect and support, but also respect to the family, is they have a family group chat on WhatsApp. And he posted a message to the group chat stating, "This is the situation. To those of you that are not aware, my former relationship has ended.
Yep.
I'm now divorced. I have a new partner, Gabrielle. I will be bringing her to the party. I'm, happy. We're, very happy and all of that. And, please, I hope that you'll welcome her." And so it just set the tone and set the scene for everybody. And I think that went a long way to making me feel more comfortable, and was just a really big sign of respect to both sides. Because my biggest concern, honestly, was that calendar wise, it looks quick, right? Leon was or ex-wife filed for divorce in X month, and we met in August, and then by sort of October we were together.
Yeah.
It looks quick. And I think my biggest concern was that people would assume I played a role in the breakdown of Leon's marriage. That was a concern. And so Leon fronting that and being really upfront with people and very clear with people was important to me. The whole breakdown of we didn't know each other existed. We only met in August. So, it's absolutely nothing to do with me. So that was the biggest concern. So I would say the overwhelming majority of Leon's family was so welcoming. Obviously, there's some curiosity there, which I think is natural, but so welcoming. And again, I think trusting Leon's decision-making. There were a few people that had some wariness and sense of caution. And that comes from a place of wanting to protect Leon, because I think the hardest thing about this whole situation has been, because I'm going to come on to the friends in a minute, is you
exposure going on now.
Get ready. Well, is that you're the incoming person, you're falling in love with this amazing man that you've met, and you're so happy. And yet you're inheriting a set of circumstances that have absolutely nothing to do with me. This former ex-wife has nothing to do with me. And yet, because of that situation, people are cautious about me. And that was hard, because, and I get that it's from a place of protection, but it was hard to experience the little pockets of that I did, because I thought, if only you knew behind the scenes of us how much support I've given Leon, how much of the situation I've listened to, you know, and had to take on board, to then be a little bit cautious about me. I think, you know, I've done nothing but love this man and support this man. So that was hard. And then when it came to the friend group, so again, because Leon is the man that he is, he has this enormous friendship circle of different groups. There was mixed reactions, I would say. There were a slice of friends that were happy for Leon, crack on, good on you, you know, nice to hear that you're happy. There were a slice of friends that wanted Leon to be single for a while and were, what word shall I use? Maybe dismayed that he'd met somebody so quickly. I'm being as tactful as I can, but I'm looking straight at you, Ricky. You were one of them. Let's be honest. You were one of them. But you weren't the only one. There were a few that were dismayed that Leon had moved on and was in a new relationship and wanted him to be single and come out to play. And
okay, I've got to address. I've got to address the elephant in that room. I wouldn't say I was specifically that camp where I was dismayed and wanted to stay single. I think for me it was more kind of shock that, you know, it was happening so fast, and I was more kind of, you know, full transparency, honesty there, Gabs. I was a bit wary and cautious of you, because obviously, you know, he's like my best friend, and
a bit. I know you were.
And I've seen him, you know, being hurt before in a previous relationship, and, you know, I didn't want that to happen again. So I was like, okay, let's just chill and slow it down a little bit, and you know, just coming from a place of protection. But just to address the elephant in the room, I was not the camp which said I was dismayed and wanted to stay single. I just was taken aback at how fast it was all going on. So.
Yeah, I think those were, thanks, Ricky. Yeah, but like I said, you weren't the only one, and I completely understood it comes from a place of protecting him, and because Leon's got this huge circle of people, that means there's a huge circle of people that have seen Leon hurt, seen him be damaged by this relationship, seen him have to recover, seen his character change over a period of time, seen the impact that had on him, which is all kind of largely happened before, you know, we knew each other, but you inherit that and therefore inherit the wariness and people being very cautious of you. I think there was maybe a fear that I was going to hurt Leon and he's already been hurt, or I was going to take advantage of him in some way. I don't know in what way, but there were a couple of fears, I think, or concerns from the people around you. And I knew that it came from a place of protection. It wasn't about me personally, because people hadn't met me before. They didn't know me, but it was, again, I think part of taking that on board as part of the ride. There's nothing easy about that. There's nothing easy about meeting group after group of friends after group of friends after group of friends, and some people being a little bit at arm's length. It was hurtful. It's when you haven't done anything to warrant that. So there was a degree of sucking that up and taking it on the chin as part of the ride, and also letting our relationship speak for itself and letting time speak for itself. That if you were wondering how long I'm going to be around, well, we'll sit back and wait then, because here we are 2.5 years later and happier than ever. So, you know, there was kind of an element of just, there's not a lot I can do about reassuring you other than just let time do its thing. But yeah, that's something I haven't had to experience before. Yeah.
But that's
quick. Sorry, Rex. Quick technical one. Gabs, could you move a bit more to the right, please? That's it. Yeah. Perfect. Continue.
Gab, after sharing that, and thank you for sharing that. I know it's not easy. It's an incredibly brave thing, to do, and say to yourself, look, I'm not going anywhere, even if you don't necessarily like me at first. I love this man. I'm going to stick around, and I'm going to show you through my actions and my time with him, what I'm really about. So full credit to you. And honestly, from the bottom of my heart, after meeting you, and I think the first meeting, just going back a little bit, was it in Box Park again?
Yeah.
That same
Yeah,
Box
it
Park.
was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I remember we were with our mutual friend. She
Another
not be
friend.
named, but but yeah, just after meeting you from that first meeting, and then I've known you now for a while, I could honestly say hand on my heart that you are the ideal match for him, and you guys are just perfect together. So just wanted to get out there.
Thanks, mate.
So how's the relationship been so far?
Magical.
Right.
Magical.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
Very, I think healthy.
Yeah.
I would say we have a very healthy relationship. The first meeting we spoke for, after swapping the jackets, we spoke for over 4 hours. That's just never stopped. I think that level of communication, having difficult conversations, I think that healing journey, with my ex, I was able to have basically most of COVID and lockdown on my own to recover from that. So I met Leon as his healing journey was ongoing. And of course you bump into things along the way that aren't necessarily easy, but I think we've never run from a conversation. We've never run from talking things through. And there's many other, I think we've had quite a lot thrown at us in terms of adult life, bereavements and cancer diagnoses and, all the difficult adult stuff. But like I said, we're not kids. Like, this is adult life. And I think just being unwavering and being by each other's sides and holding each other up when we've had those hard times, but then celebrating the really good times, and also being very clear, especially in the early days, that Leon would say to me, I'm not going anywhere. And I would say to Leon, I'm not going anywhere. So if there's a tough conversation, we reach a tough patch, don't, I guess, let go of the fear that you reveal something to me or you're vulnerable with me about something, that it's going to make me run away. I'm not running anywhere. And I think that level of security in each other, I don't know about you, Leon, but that's kept me upright during some really hard times of the last 2 years. That has been very special, I think. And yeah, there's a degree of healthiness that I think comes from going through relationships that haven't worked on multiple levels, actually being the kind of person that learns from that. It doesn't mean we're perfect. Of course, there's things that happen and you get triggered by something and fly off the handle or, go off the deep end, but then you come back and go, okay, that wasn't about you. That was about me and something that's happened before. I think the phrase that we joke about now was preemptive strikes. Is that, Leon?
Very, very military, right?
Military term. That, this was a person that had been really deeply hurt and deeply disrespected in his previous relationship. And so, of course, the natural human thing is to protect yourself from that happening again. And so sometimes there was, situations or behaviors where the reaction was really disproportionate to something, or I guess that's the best way that I can describe it. And it would be tough at the time, but then there would be a conversation of, I think reacting to things from the past is what I'm trying to say. So Yeah, that happened a lot in the beginning. It happens much, much less now. So the relationship's great. It's one of the things I wake up every day very, very grateful for it. And yeah, magical 2.5 years.
And what does the future hold for you and Leon?
Everything. We have our plans. Yeah, we've got our plans, and I think we'll see how those plans go. But in an ideal world, we're both building empires in our own respective careers. We would both love a family when the time is right, if we're lucky enough that happens to us. And I think just building together and building forward are the main things, and some adventures in there, because I think we've had a lot of the lessons and the hard times that let's bring on the adventures going forward, and the fun times. I think we've had our fair share and we've dealt with that. So
Definitely.
yeah.
No, awesome. I think I speak for all of our viewers and listeners that Gabs, your story was an incredibly moving, powerful, and very insightful journey that you've been on, from just being with friends with Leon and all the way to being in a relationship with him now. If you were to kind of summarize for kind of our listeners and viewers, what were kind of the major lessons you learned from the experience? And for people that are similar in your going through a similar situation such as yours, what advice would you give them?
Gosh, there's a lot that I could say there, but I think the biggest thing of going from single to meeting someone and being friends to now in the best relationship of my life, is it's a hard thing to be single. Let's start there.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to be single in this world. And what you have to do is remain, regardless of what's happened previously, remain hopeful and be open that the package in which the right person for you shows up might be quite different from the picture that's in your head, I think is the first one.
Very good point.
I think the second one is, again, as you grow up, we're in our mid-30s now, is there are so many things that I hear people look for in relationships. Physical, outward things, tangible material things. I've heard I've got a master's degree, so they need to have a master's degree so that we understand each other. And, this really tick box approach to finding, love and a partner, that I think overlooks character. And I think be led by character and be led by the actions and behaviors and level of consistency demonstrated by the person in front of you. Don't date for potential. Things would be great if this person just didn't do this, or they're here now, but I'll stick with them because of where they might be in 5 years. You can only in life go on the person and the behavior and the consistency, because everyone can have a great week and treat you well for a week. But going on those things that are actually right in front of you and make your decisions based on that. I wish that somebody had said that to me 5 years ago, because I would have made very different decisions. But it's a result of that learning is why from the beginning I was so confident about my decision in Leon, and choosing Leon and Leon choosing me. It was beyond anything physical or anything like that. It was character. This is a person's character that I click with, and the person's character is consistent over time.
Yeah.
And I think those would probably be my key learning points from the relationship, that I would share with others.
Well put.
Very
I couldn't
eloquently
summarize it better myself.
So there we have it. an amazing, insightful discussion with Gabs, my partner,
Thank you.
love of my life, who has
Thank
really
you.
delved into her viewpoint when it has come to having to deal or starting a relationship with someone who is literally going through divorce. Obviously, not everything in life is planned. The roads that we look at in front of us do not always go the way that we think they're supposed to go. But when you are working with someone who, or when you have two people who are willing to put that work in, because as Gabs has already said within this episode, being single is hard, but also being in a relationship is hard as well. But if you've got two people who are willing to work for a same or similar goal, happy to look at each other and happy to really, really understand each other, understand where the pitfalls are, what they do really, really well, it can really lead on to something beautiful. So for all our listeners, those are the main things and the main take homes from this episode. Also, want to say a big, 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 big thank you to our guest, our external guest, and our first guest, Gabs, because it's been amazing.
Thank you.
I'd like to give a very big thank you to Ricky as well for amazing questions and really, really making sure and segueing this episode the way how it is, and just making sure that it's efficient, concise, important information, and shooting the breeze. So, with that, it's on to the next part, which, in true purpose Hangtime fashion, the quotes that we like to leave our episode on. So, Gabrielle, what quote would you like to explain to us today, or what quote truly resonates with you and this episode?
Oh, I love a quote. So it's hard to choose one. But the one I think that is applicable across the board, so relationships and career, but also taps into what I do in terms of my career as well as a goal strategist. So my quote is around goals. And the quote is, be stubborn about your goal and be flexible about your methods. So don't lose track. If there's something that you really want, you care deeply about, hold on to that and be steadfast in it. But you have to have the flexibility to pivot and for leaving room for some magic to happen along the way. And don't be so bogged down in the route to get there that you're closed, because actually we can achieve the things that we want in many, many different ways. So that would be my ending quote: be stubborn about the goal and remain flexible about the method.
Excellent. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, love.
Cool.
And on that note,
thank you.
I'd like to close the episode. And yeah, keep shooting the breeze.
Thanks for having me.